Hello, I'm Keith Hilson with the Schmidt Music Trombone Shop, back with another daily practice tip for you. And today I have the next part of our swing style tutorial here, Swing 102. So in the last video, we talked about the basis of the swing style and the importance of the triplet rhythm and that underlying rhythm and the role that accents play in this. So what is the next step to the swing style? Articulation, right? How do we play these notes to create the style? And again, just like with that triplet feel idea, there are some basic rules that we can use that will put us in the right place, at least get us in the right direction with the style. And number one in swing articulation is, generally speaking, notes are connected. They're legato, especially if you have any kind of long phrase, whether it's eighth notes, quarter notes, a combination, anything that's connected. All of those notes are typically super long, super connected, right? So for us as brass players, specifically trombone players, how do we accomplish this? This comes back to that legato articulation. So often when I hear especially younger players playing swing styles, it tends to be disjunct. Very, very hard articulate. And don't get me wrong, there are certain styles where that is more appropriate than others. We've seen a shift from the early 19 teens in the 20s and the 30s. There has been a subtle shift, but in today's modern jazz, typically we want things to be much more legato. So we have to work on that legato articulation. I always tell my students, the quicker, the better we can get at legato, the more it's going to serve us in all of these different ways. So just as a quick primer, how do we develop that legato? It's all about that airflow, right? That continuity with the air, with a lot of more harsh articulations, more distinct articulations. We have our airflow. The tongue actually serves to stop the note, whether it's toe or do. The tongue comes up and actually stops the airflow. When we're talking about legato, we want that airflow to be continuous, and the tongue just really just bumps the airflow. It never interrupts it. We never lose that connection between the notes. This comes into play hugely in the swing style. So again, general rule of thumb, anytime we have connected eighth note phrases, or whether we have, frankly, any connected notes, it can be on the beat, it can be syncopated, any of these notes are typically legato. They're leading through the phrase here. So I'm going to play an example so you can hear some of this in action. Now, of course, as you heard, not everything is legato, and that is the second part of the rule. So all of our long notes that we play are super long. However, when we do play a short note, they tend to be super short. In the next video, I'm actually going to talk about how we can play those style appropriate short notes and a couple of techniques we can use for that there. But when do we play short notes? A couple of really good rules of thumb. Typically, the end of any phrase is going to be short. So let's say that you've got 4 eighth notes connected together. Ba-ba-da-da. That last eighth note is typically going to be short. If you have a single eighth note or quarter note by itself that's not connected to the rest of the phrase, bop, bop, da-dum, bop, ba-dum, bop, anything like that, those notes are typically going to be short as well, whether they are on the beat, off the beat. Now, of course, there are exceptions anytime like this, and if we're lucky, a lot of composers will actually do a really nice job, especially with more kind of modern settings, of indicating when they want these notes long or short. But again, good rule of thumb, if you have just a separate eighth note or quarter note on its own, that note is also going to be short. So notes at the end of the phrases are short. Single eighth notes or quarter notes by by themselves are typically going to be short, very often are going to be accented as well. And again, we'll talk about that in the next video as well. And more importantly, not only are we talking about this, the overall articulation, but it's about the energy flow that we have as well. So many, jazz and all of these, jazz related languages, whether we're talking about a lot of kind of modern Latin music, can be bossa nova and others, whether we're talking funk, whether we're talking rock, all of these, there's this forward energy to this, and that forward energy is created in different ways. A lot of times it's created by subdivisions, but we have to have this energy and this flow, and very often, again, when I hear younger players play, when we have spaces in between the notes, when we do have these short notes, the energy doesn't carry through. Ba ba da bop, 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 bop. And it's hard to describe without hearing it in action. But when you hear really great players play this kind of music, the style, and again, I highly encourage you to go out and listen to the masters do this, there is an energy through. Even though they can be playing these very short, separate rhythms, there is an energy, there is a flow to this that is really hard to replicate unless we're thinking through the phrase. So it's not only about the articulation, it's about the mindset, thinking through these phrases, thinking through the rest into the next part of the phrase, or from one phrase to the next there as well. So again, to sum everything up, jazz is very much swing is very much a legato language. Whether it's the articulation or the energy moving through here is super important. All connected notes are typically very long. When we have those short notes at the end of the phrases, separate notes, we want to play them super short. We'll talk about how to accomplish that in the next video here. So as always, I hope this is helpful. If you have any comments, if you have any questions about this, please feel free to leave them below the video here. Or of course, you can always reach out to us, tromboneshop@schmidtmusic.com. You can check out all of our other videos on our YouTube channel. We've got a whole playlist of all of our daily practice tips here as well. And of course, you can keep up with what we're doing on Facebook and Instagram as well. So thanks for watching. Happy practicing, and please keep making music.